Okay, if you would like to watch the practice to help you get through it, that's great. If you want to try it on your own, that's fine, but you will be turning this in. Okay, so again, we are just factoring, and remember, you need to always look for a GCF, factor completely, difference of squares. So just starting with our first one, we got our numerator and our denominator, so I'm just going to show my work over here. So my numerator, I need factors of negative 14 that make negative 5. That's going to be a negative 7 and a 2. Let's switch these colors around. All right, that's my numerator. Here's my denominator. Okay, and then my denominator, I need factors of 10 that make 7, and that would be 2 and 5. So here we go, factoring with my numerator. All right, x's will be enough to make my x squared. So x times a negative 7 will make my negative 7x, and x times a positive 2 will make my 2x. Denominator, these x's will also be enough. And x times a positive 2 will make my 2x, and x times a positive 5 will make my 5x. I'm not going to erase the loops on this. So now I'm just looking for a common factor between the top and the bottom. That's going to be the x plus 2's. Do not leave your answer like that. You will be expected to write it like this. All right, there's number 1 done. All right, problem 2. So starting with my numerator, I do notice a GCF that can become x, and I'm left with x minus 4, and I can't factor anymore. My denominator is a difference of squares, so that is an x plus 4 and x minus 4, and I should just write these in my fraction. So here we go. I'll do that real quick. All right, so we have an x and an x minus 4 in our numerator, an x plus 4 and an x minus 4 in our denominator. I can cross off an x minus 4 from top to bottom, so when we are done, we have x with x plus 4. All right, number 3. Number 3, so here we go, factor my numerator. And hold on, I'm gonna guess that there is a typo here, because that should not be a 1, so give me a quick moment to double check. Okay, so it turns out it's just mine that has the typo. Yours should be good. You're like, sauce it, it's a 10. All right, here we go. Starting with my numerator. There is no GCF, but I will need factors of 10 that make 7. We actually just did that in problem number 1. It was a 2 and a 5. And then I can factor into x plus 2 and x plus 5. So that's just a repeater from problem number 1. My denominator, I will need factors of 30 that make 17, and that's going to be 15 and 2. Let's see, x and x will not be enough to make my 3x squared, so I'm going to shove a 3 in there, and then 3 times a positive 5 can make my 15x, and x times a positive 2 can make my 2x. So what are my common factors to cancel out? They are the x plus 5's, and when we are done, here we go. All right, next problem. For some reason, I don't know why mine keep missing here, but there's a 12 there, so fixing that real quick. All right, numerator. The numerator is 4 terms. There's not a GCF, so I'm going to do this grouping method. So here goes my numerator work. I can take an x squared out, and then I'm left with an x plus 5, which when I GCF my other parentheses, I will need an x plus 5. That means I'll be factoring out a negative 9. So my factors right now are x squared minus 9, which is a difference of squares. We'll come back to it, in x plus 5. X squared minus 9 can turn into x plus 3, x minus 3. So there is my numerator. Work for the denominator. Let's see, we will need factors of negative 60 that make negative 11, and that's going to be a negative 15 and 4. And x will not be enough. I'll have to put a 5 in there to make my 5x squared. So 5 times a negative 3 can make my negative 15x, and x with a positive 4 can make the 4x. So we're ready. Let's put this together. So my numerator is x plus 3, x minus 3, x plus 5. My denominator is 5x plus 4 with the x minus 3. And can't cross out much, but I can cross out these x minus 3's. So when I'm done, my final answer is in the numerator, x plus 3 with x plus 5, and 5x plus 4. All right, let's move to multiplying. So we just have more to multiply. So I'm going to do the same setup that I did before. Kind of put my box here. And in the first problem, I'm going to need factors of negative 28 that make 3. That would be a 7 with a negative 4. And x's will be enough. And x with a positive 7 will make 7x, and x with a negative 4 will make negative 4x. All right, that is my numerator. Let's go to the denominator. So here I'm going to need factors of negative 20 that make negative 1. That will be a negative 5x and a 4x. And x's will be enough. And x with a negative 5 can make negative 5x, and x with a positive 4 can make 4x. Moving to the right numerator, there is a GCF, x, which I can't factor anymore, and x minus 5, that is not a difference of squares, so we're done there. And then going to my denominator, that is a difference squares, no GCF, it can just become x plus 4, x minus 4. All right, so if I put everything together, numerator left, numerator right, denominator on the left, whoops, but not up. It should be minus sign, there we go. No, it is a plus sign. And let's see, denominator on the right. Extend this out a little bit. Now I'm ready to cross off. So I see an x minus 4, an x minus 5, and that's it. So my final numerator is an x with an x plus 7 and an x plus 4 twice. So you can put a little squared, or you can just write the x plus 4 twice. All right, number 6, same idea. I'm just going to make this little box. So starting with my top left numerator, I see a GCF of an x, which I can't factor anymore, and x plus 2, which I can't factor anymore. My denominator, I'll need factors of negative 6 that make negative 1. That's a negative 3 and 2. These x's will be enough, I'm really squishing this in here, to make my x squared. So x with a negative 3 will make our negative 3x, and x with a positive 2 will make our 2x. All right, top right. So I'm going to need factors of 6 that make negative 5. That's going to be negative 2x and negative 3x, and x's will be enough. And x with a negative 2 can make negative 2x, and x with a negative 3 can make negative 3x. And then my denominator. So you might think that you can't factor that, but x squared can factor into x and x. So if I write everything down now, top left numerator, top right numerator, my bottom left denominator, and my bottom right denominator. So what I can cancel out are x minus 3's, x plus 2's, 1x and 1x. So when we're done, we have x minus 2 over x. All right, let's jump to the back. So we've got 2 more and then some graphing review problems, and then we're finished. So remember, this is division, so whether you use copy.flop, keep, change, flip, that's up to you. All right, so starting with my first top left, I'm going to make an x, so I need factors of negative 35 that make 2, and that's going to be 7x and negative 5x. Making my factors, x and x are enough, and x with a positive 7 makes 7x, and x with a negative 5 makes negative 5x. Going to my denominator, there is not a GCF, but this is a difference of squares, x plus 7 and x minus 7. Now I'm going to flip it. This is going to become my denominator. There's not a GCF, but it is a difference of squares of x plus 5 and x minus 5. And then this will become my new numerator. So I need factors of negative 7x squared over negative 6x. That leaves me with a negative 7x and a 1x. These x's are enough to make x squared. So x times a negative 7 can make my negative 7x, and x times a positive 1 can make my 1x. All right, so again, I put everything there. So I'm going to have an x minus 5 from the top left and an x plus 7. Top right, x plus 1 and an x minus 7. Denominator, x plus 7 from the left, and from the right, x plus 5 and x minus 5. All right, I'm going to cross out now. So x minus 5, x minus 7, x plus 7. So when we're done, the only thing we have left is x plus 1 over x plus 5. All right, one more, and then we'll graph some review stuff. All right, same thing. Division, copy dot flop, keep, change, flip. Here goes my numerator. I'll need factors of negative 12 that make negative 1. That would be a negative 4 and positive 3. X and x will not work for this. They will not make 2x squared. So I'm going to shove a 2 in there. And then 2 times a negative 2 makes negative 4x squared, and x times a positive 3 makes my 3x. All right, denominator. This does have a GCF. Let me erase this part right here. It does have a GCF. I can take out a 2 and an x, and then I'm left with actually x squared, and then I'm left with x minus 5. And although you can't factor 2 anymore, you can factor the x squared into x and x. So this is gone. This denominator is about to become my numerator, so I'm going to GCF a 4 and an x out, and I'm left with x minus 5. And the 4 I'm going to factor down to 2 and 2. I want to factor everything completely. And then finally, my denominator, which comes from that numerator. So I'll need factors of negative 18 x squared. That makes 7x. That's a 9x and a negative 2x. Those x's will be enough to make our x squared. And so x with a positive 9 makes 9x, and x with a negative 2 makes negative 2x. So everything that I have now, here's the left numerator. Here is the right numerator. Left denominator. And right denominator. Okay, so what can we cancel out? All right, we're going to take a 2 and a 2, an x and an x minus 2, and an x minus 5. So everything that's left is our answer. So final answer is going to be in the numerator, it looks like just 2x plus 3, and in the denominator, x with x plus 9. All right, number 9 and 10. So 9 and 10, we are going to graph. This is just a review. So we'll have our left side, and we'll have our right side. So let's start with the right side here. This is a line. We're going to begin. The number that's by itself is negative 1. My slope is a negative 1 over 1, so it's going to be going downhill. So I'm just going to go up 1 over 1, and I'm just going to fill my graph with dots. Okay, here we go. So there's my line. Blue, this is squared. If I go to my blue toolkit, I will see that was squared. I want to use these numbers. And I will be moving everything right 2 down 3. There is no need to change the y values. So I'm going to start with 0, 0 and go right 2 down 3. And then I'm going to go left 1 up 1, right 1 up 1, left 2 up 4, and right 2 up 4. And then I'm going to have a U. All right, so we have an alligator. We want to make sure our alligator's happy. So we want the part of the U that's above the line. So the part of the U that's above the line is from here to here. Where is it? Right there. And then from here to here. So if we wonder what these are, well, this arrow is negative infinity, infinity. This arrow is infinity, infinity. This point is 1, negative 2. And then this point is 2, negative 3. So our alligator is going to be happy from negative infinity to negative 1. So again, that's negative infinity to negative 1. Then, whoops, not negative 1, positive 1, sorry. And then it's going to be happy again from 2 to infinity. All right, number 10 is from our current section. So we have a flip and a stretch of 4. We have right 3 and up 2. So if you remember, we will be using this to make our table. All right, so we're going to build the stretch in. So we're going to have A and the opposite of A, 1 and the opposite of 1. And if I put negative 4 right there, I'm going to get a positive 1. And if I put 4 there, I get a negative 1. I put 1 there, I get negative 4, and negative 1 would give me a 4. So here go my walls. So I'm going to go right 3. Remember that's x is 3, that's your vertical asymptote, up 2. So that's going to be your horizontal asymptote of y equals 2. And then I'm going to graph my points. So let's see, left 4, up 1, and right 4, down 1. And then right 1, down 4. And left 1, up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we got this shape. All right, so I like to start with this. It doesn't really matter. So this arrow is left, and the y value is 2. So the arrow opposite direction is going to be infinity with the 2. This arrow is x is 3, and it's going up, so the other one's going to be 3, but going down. So my domain is going to be negative infinity to 3, and then 3 to infinity. And then my domain is going to be, let's see, negative infinity to 2, and then 2 to infinity. All right, that is your practice. So if you are done, you can turn in the assignment before you leave. If you didn't finish, then I will collect this from you next class, and then I'll also be collecting and not collecting, but checking that you did your notes.